taking these aspects into consideration from function, let's switch back to a non-functional scope.
Mm.
What are the different strategies we discussed in terms of load testing? That these are the kind of tests that you can do in non-functional area. So smoke is something that you will just run maybe for
Mm.
one virtual user, for two virtual user, for 10 virtual users for a minute and see if everything is fine or not. If your EC2 instance or pod wherever you are running is able to give you response, the internal connectivity is fine, you are able to generate reports, you're connecting with Grafana, whatever it is, right? Or Prometheus server, the data is exporting. So that will be taken care in smoke, right? What else will you do here?
So we'll set up a load or stress, then
Okay.
a spike test or endurance
Okay.
test
I am
stuff.
so at this point, I'm just limiting to three use cases: smoke, load, and stress, right? Tomorrow, if you want to do stress testing or soak testing, you can extend on top of it. So let's say you want to do soak versus endurance. That's totally up to you, whatever you want to run, right? Depending on your use case. So now, if these are your stages, this is your 10-minute of duration. Which profile would this fit into? A 10-minute test.
It'll fit into smoke test profile.
Okay. So you want to run a smoke for 10 minutes?
I mean, yeah, if
Okay.
it comes to load, I'll prefer a little more time and a little more variation in the load.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so like for 10 minutes, I'll prefer it goes to the smoke test category.
Okay. Anna, Akash, Shrutika, what will be your thoughts behind running the smoke for 10 minutes?
Smoke, 10 minutes will be large time now for smoke.
Okay, why is that?
I mean, we can take only important test in smoke testing,
Mm-hmm.
only basic and critical scenarios, so
Okay.
that we can decide to go ahead or not.
Okay. Anna, Shrutika, anything from your perspective? When you run a
Yeah, I
smoke
think
test
critical.
today for functional, what is the ideal duration that you run for? Your regression could run for an hour, for 2 hours, for 3 hours, that is respective. What will be the exact or a suitable runtime for your smoke test or sanity test that you do?
More like 5 minutes. Less.
Okay. See, these are some things which will come to you naturally depending on what your user profile or what your user scenario is, right? It will very much vary between a person to person and a company to company. So today, if let's say Kalyani feels that she needs to run a smoke test for 10 minutes, it's totally fine. We don't have a problem with that, right? Because she could be doing 10 different scenarios in her use case. But in most user journeys, smoke would be something that we would try to wrap up quickly so that we don't have to invest 10 minutes to get everything around us to a past state or a functional state. Because when you're working with non-functional aspects, right, do remember that this is not something that you run or you observe, right? This happens. If you break it in between, you have to restart the cycle, which technically means your server or your pod, wherever you are running this, that can go down. If you're assuming load is high, your backend, which will cater to it, if it is in a pre-warm up state, it will still give you errors, which is something that you don't want. It should be in a warmed up state instead of a cool down state. And if these things happen, it will introduce more delays for you. So when you're working with non-functional aspects, there are too many dependencies and complexities. So you try to trim them down to a level where most of the basic